Hi, I'm Tandy Gutierrez, and I'm the founder of matandkitchen.com, and I've been an educator in the fitness and wellness industry for nearly 2 decades now. And so this evening, I invited Mat and Kitchen members to come and share with you what matandkitchen.com solves for them in the world, but in particular, as busy mamas. So I am 39, I'll be 40 in a very short few months, and I have two sons, 6 and 10, and a stepson who is 22. And I know that becoming a mother completely changed my perspective on fitness and wellness. And having two made me wonder how anybody ever did it. And there really are three children in this house, and I helped raise my stepson and continue to, but he lived with us up until he was 15. So there are so many variations of motherhood that the balancing act is real. And I want to share, this idea that we could be it all and have it all, and that, if we just had the right workout, we just had the right trainer, and we just had the right food, well, those things make a significant difference in your quality of life and your sanity. But as someone who trained in the fitness and wellness industry at very high elite levels, people, in order to train with me, needed to be able to, pay $150 to $250 an hour. If I wanted that same type of care, I couldn't afford it. And so the quality of your fitness and wellness matters on so many levels. There's a lot of good coaches and trainers out there, but accessibility is a huge thing. And accessibility in your budget and in your schedule are huge things. So when we launched the original site in matandkitchen.com, it really has spoken to mothers in the world. One, because I am one, but two, because we are in our modern culture dealing with sets of issues and layers of scheduling to balance and manage that I feel like it's reached kind of a pinnacle of generations. So tonight we're going to go through some of our members and have them share their experience and how it improves their quality of life and what it really answers for them in the world. Okay? So Megan, if you would share with us what Mat and Kitchen solves for you and who you are, and just share your story.
Sure. My name is Megan. I am 39 years old. I'll be 40 in April. I am from upstate New York, and I have two children, a son who is 12 and a daughter who is 7. I have been a Mat and Kitchen member for almost 4 years in May. And I actually came into Mat and Kitchen with every excuse that I tried to run by Tandy for why I probably wouldn't stick with this, just like I hadn't stuck with anything else. And she just calmly explained that it was different and to try it out. I had a 2-week free trial, and I got on the mat every day, and I haven't looked back. 6 times a week, every morning, first thing, 99% of the time. That has been the really easy part to fit into my schedule. I say that, well, it used to be Pimp Your Mat, but I would say PYM is the new coffee, because I feel better after 30 minutes on the mat than I do after a cup of coffee. So I work that into every day, even if I have to get up super early for my son wrestles. So we have every Saturday or Sunday a wrestling tournament to go to, and I'd rather get up at 4:30 and get on the mat than not do it and sit in the bleachers all day. Yeah, it's been a lifesaver. I feel like it takes the stress out of when I'm going to find time to work out. And when I started, my daughter was 3. I couldn't leave her home alone to try to go for a run or go to a gym. And I live in a really rural area, so there wasn't a gym anywhere near me at that time to even go to. So Tandy came to me every morning with the personal touch too. If I was having trouble with something or a particular issue, she was always right there on email or on Facebook to answer any questions, give advice, give homework. I did one of her first sessions in a different format that she used to do, and completed the food reset. And that was amazing also, just in addition to being able to get on the mat.
So I wanted to go through some things because again, it's been like 4 years, and that is, it's a long time. Like one. And two, you had said, but it sounds so breezy when you say it now, but like I you're like, I hadn't stuck with anything before. I mean, I think it, yeah.
No.
And you have been like, out of the members that I talk to a lot and know well, because for anybody watching, like I didn't know Megan before she was a subscriber. Like we chatted on Facebook and she sent me an email and asked some questions, and like it is a genuine community and I really am your teacher. And as much as you want to, you know, utilize that, you get to, but you really didn't, like you've barely missed a day of like literally every day doing it. And that's 4 years. That's huge.
Sometimes I get up on Sunday mornings, which is typically my day off, and I put on my workout clothes, and then I'm like, wait, I don't have to do it today. And then sometimes I do anyway. I'm already here, my clothes are on, I might as well do a stretch at least.
And then you said it too, but just to kind of highlight it, that you have a son who wrestles, and it's a really intense schedule. I mean, I think for people who don't know the competitive like arena of it, it's like you guys are traveling a lot,
Oh yeah.
up and gone a lot. Resources go to that instead of going to other things, and so it sounds like, I mean, it
Hmm.
solved scheduling and maybe some budget things too in the life that you all have.
For sure. My husband and I run the club, which we have 80 members, and it's every parent kind of thinks they're the only one. So it's a really, I teach preschool part time, and I always say I don't know how I could do a full time job and my volunteer running of the club. It's 4 nights a week in the gym for 2 hours helping parents, and then Saturday and or Sunday sitting in a gym all day with a million other people. We stay in hotels a ton of times, and I don't have to miss a workout. I do it on the floor in front of the bathroom usually before anybody else gets up.
And you also mentioned that you're in a rural area, so there's not a ton of options as far as like studios, classes, or teachers or trainers.
No, there is now, and it's funny because it's just a little studio that we can have maybe 4 or 5 people in a class, and I go on Friday mornings. It's actually called Booty Boot Camp, which is not something I ever thought I would sign up for, but it's like a Tabata kind of thing, and it's really fun. And I find myself really doing it kind of like an M&K thing, like, maybe not doing as many reps, but working on my form and, pulling my belly button up underneath my ribs. And, I think I kind of approach it differently than some of the other people who are there to like kill themselves, like the boot camp style. But
Well, and you bring up a good point too. Just because you do M&K does not mean you can't do other things. Like it means that doing other things get better because you know how to connect and how to deal with your body.
100%.
um,
I would never, if I wasn't on the mat with you every day, I would never put myself in front of other people to do anything. And I'm amazed at sometimes what I can do because I'm on the mat every day.
yeah. Is there anything that do you feel like Matt and Kitchen being a member, because it's been such a, it's been 4 years, has it changed you as a mother in any way? That was a sneaky question because I didn't warn you guys about that. But like, do you feel like it's changed your mothering or your capacity?
Um, I don't know. I feel like I assume that just there was one month where I had to miss a few days because we weren't in my house and I didn't have a place to work out, and I had no like patience for anything that week. I like felt stressed and kind of frazzled. I didn't have that 30 minutes to myself. So I feel like because I can take that time every morning, like I'm ready to go when my kids get up. I get up before them and do it. And I feel like, without that, I feel like I would be taking longer to wake up and not, being able to kind of tend to their needs or whatever they might want when they first get up. So, I think like it's really one of the only things I do for myself, I would say. Look at it that way, not like a, like a workout or something I have to do, just something I want to do, something for me, so that I do have more to give back to my family.
That's good. So yeah, I would say, because again, you have attached so much and had no expectation of it. You're like, I have never stuck with anything. Like, I'm just here to like poke my head in for a couple weeks and then I'll see you later. And 4 years later, here you are. Like,
my first question was, how easy is it to cancel? Like, when I sign up and then don't do it, how easy is it to cancel? And do I get my money back? And do I get to keep any of the workouts if I decide to come back when I decide it might be a good idea again? And that was never, after probably, I would say 3 days, that was never a thing. Like, it's worth every penny. I love every second of being on the mat. I love being able to talk to you personally on the backside of everything about what's going on. Like, it's the perfect format for moms, and I really talk about it all the time. Like, at least every day I'm talking about, something. Like, this morning I was on the mat, and I was this morning, and Tandy, my trainer, like, all the time.
I just love it. Megan, I'm so like, your story and you and our relationship, because again, I didn't know you, and it has evolved and grown because you did reach out and ask so many questions initially that I was like, oh my gosh, this girl is here for like 5 seconds and she's trying to leave already. Like, number one, yeah. It's super easy to leave, in case anybody's wondering. Like, it's 2 button clicks from your account. It's like not sneaky, because I really am like, dude, you don't like it here? It's fine. Like, we ain't got time for that. Like, again, busy mamas, I ain't got time. Like, then somebody else will fill that spot on the mat, like, it really, and because I worked in the fitness industry for so long, in small studios and big corporations and big elite, training centers, that I'm like, dude, can something just be simple? Like, I don't want to sign my life away. I just literally want to, like, press a button. And if I'm, for whatever reason, in my business that I don't want to do it anymore, can I just go click a couple buttons and be done with it? So I think that it's funny because you were like, I need to know all this up front.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
It was not necessary. Totally
but not necessary. Thank goodness for that, right?
Yeah.
Well, Megan, thank you for sharing. And I just,
of course,
happy anniversary, and thanks for being here for 4 years.
Of course.
Jill, will you share with us next?
I would love to, sure. My name's Jill. I am currently in Northeastern Ohio for the holidays, but I live in Austin, Texas, and I am 47 years old, and I have 2 girls. I had my first baby at 40 and my second at 42. So my girls are 7 and 5. And I would say that Mat in Kitchen solved everything for me, but everything. But to narrow it down, I guess what's fun, to say is my first question to Tandy, I found her by accident. Well, not by accident, most definitely not. But she found me, I guess, on Facebook I was searching for a solution for clean eating, and I found she was featured on another site's Facebook, and one of her beautiful meals was featured, and I said, I have to know about this. So I found her that way, and because the meal was so beautiful and the food was beautiful and clean, and I emailed her right away and said, my first question was, can I do this? I have never done Pilates. I don't own a mat. I don't have workout clothes. I don't have anything. Can I do this? Because I was now postpartum from my second baby, and having my first one, I bounced back pretty quickly, went back to the office. After my second one, I couldn't go back to the office. I just personally couldn't do it. So I stayed home and didn't move and just stayed in the house and nursed all day and all night. And my body changed and I gained weight. I guess I felt a little helpless. so Matt and Kitchen solved for me right away. I feel like it solved like all the loose ends that were swirling around me. It just brought it in one place and said, here you go. Simplicity. You can do this. And Tandy did respond and said, you can definitely do this. And I just took the plunge and found that I could do it. And I am on the mat 6 days a week, and I have not turned back. But I think I was not eating right. I had a little bit of knowledge, but I just didn't know what to do with it. And the killing myself kind of fitness routines just didn't resonate with me. So I felt helpless. I didn't know where to go. So you've solved, Matt and Kitchen and Tandy, you've solved for me so many things, but I guess the accessibility of it. I work from home now. I homeschool. So I can't just jump in the car and go to a gym. I just can't do it. And I am able to get up and turn on my phone, find Matt and Kitchen, press play, and I can work out whenever I want and whenever I can. So just having that available to me is everything. And then the education that comes with it, and learning about what's clean eating, and you know, how can I implement this in my life, just saved my life. So thank you.
You're so welcome. So again, I feel like when people watch these, they're going to be like, well, they've all been friends, and like, this is like this thing. And I'm like, you know, like, you just end up being friends. And
Yeah.
It's a beautiful community that I really like, I'm so grateful for, because I didn't know what it was going to be. I had managed studios and taught in studios and gyms and had private clients for forever. And your clients become your family. You know, it's a very private bond to trust somebody with your body. And so when we launched it online, it was 5 years ago, but it was still at the cusp of fitness was just starting to be online. And so I thought, this could be a disaster. Like, I'm never going to really, talk to people. I'm not going to be there to give them hands-on cueing. And that's a big deal in the Pilates community. And I just thought, I don't know. And then come to, we're heading up to 5 years of it's worked better than in a studio. And for mothers in particular, I just look at it and go, you said it. You said two things that I'm like, yes. You said the helpless piece, because I really do feel like I built what I want.
Yeah.
I had been in the industry for 12 years, and I had 2 kids, that were, 4 and newborn, and I couldn't figure out how to get everybody dressed and out the door without a meltdown. So I thought, how does anybody do this? Like, if you can afford to go to a class, okay, so if it's in your budget to go to a great studio or to a great gym, how do you even get there on time with littles? And then you have to pay somebody to watch them, either at your house or at the gym. And I thought, this is insane. So the helpless feeling has so many layers of one, I think, as, a whole nother series of feeling helpless as a female in the fitness industry, that, you have to look a certain way, you better be doing X amount of times, and you're never going to get there because you just simply can't, and this perfectionist ideal. So there's this helpless that, and then there's just the functional helpless, like, where am I going to go? How am I going to afford it? And how's this going to work? So I think that nothing, makes my heart swell more than hearing that it solved this helpless piece, because that is literally at the essence of what I teach, and the accessibility of it is I don't want people to feel at the mercy of their bodies, and teaching people how to work with them is just, it's magic, and not many people do it. And so that helpless solution is so good.
Yeah.
And then the other piece that you said about, because you know me, you guys know me now, it's I don't do the beat up thing. That's just BS. I won't hurt in these. But if you don't want to beat yourself up, you're not hyper competitive, and I'm very competitive, so I'm not saying that is a bad thing by any stretch of the means. But if you're not interested in these workouts that are really intense, then you're kind of shuttled off to yoga. Might might find your way to Pilates, you know, and so it takes your choices away also, I think, where you all have been with me. And if any, you know, jumps on, it is Pilates based because it's gentle. It speaks to alignment and solving so many pieces in the body, but I'll beg, borrow, and steal from all the formats that I know, which are extensive. So it's not boring and it's not totally, you know, classical Pilates, but it doesn't beat you up. So, you know, Jill, I just think that those are great ones to hear, because just that, you know, helpless mothers, man, you know, we don't have extensive family around us anymore to help as much. We're not all in the same neighborhoods, and we can't all hire help. And so I, you know, I'm like, any bit of like solving the helpless factor, like that's amazing.
It is. Right.
So, thank you. It was great.
Yeah. Thank you.
Those are important ones, like big ones.
Mm-hmm.
Erin, my dear, will you share with us, please?
Yes, I'm Erin, and I live in Greensboro, North Carolina. I am 40 as of last month, and I have 4 children. One is 15, one is 13, and she's just trying to come in my room right now and talk to me. One is 8 and one is 2. So I've kind of had I have almost not really 2 families, but I have the older ones and then I have the younger ones. So when my older ones were little, I would go to the gym and I would just go to Gold's Gym, and that was like my 2 hours away because I put them in daycare. That was the most time I could put them in daycare. And time out and, you know, do classes and such, but it just got to be too much. So for me, MK has been amazing because I don't have to go anywhere and I can just roll out my mat and do it whenever I want. And I'm kind of a perfectionist, and I want to find the exact perfect workout. And then I spend so much time looking for a workout that I'm like, forget it. No, I don't even have time to work out. So if I just want, but I also just kind of want somebody to tell me what to do. And I love that Tandy just does everything for me and, you know, works it how I need it to be and works different parts of the body at different times of the month and the year, and, you know, helps me work with my body, with my cycle and all of that. And that's really what MK has been to me, just a really nice little package. You know, it's just kind of done for me and I don't have to think about anything, you know. And I will say I'm not the one that wants to beat herself up. And my husband went to CrossFit for like 4 years and he's kept telling me you should come. And I just have absolutely no desire to do that. And I would so much rather do M&K. And for years, exercise was something that I had to do. Oh, I just have to do it. I know I have to do it. I have to do it. And now it's something that I want to do because of this, because it's just so gentle and it's loving. And it's just, I mean, you love your body, you love the exercises, each other. I don't know. It's so amazing to me. So that's what it's meant to me. And another thing, Tandy, you say a lot is it's kind of like a mommy timeout, which I love. A lot of times I can do my M&K really early before everybody gets up. So that's great. But on a Saturday when the house is just exploding because there's so many people in it, I'm like, I gotta go, peace out. I just run upstairs and have my 30 minutes. And I'm like, okay, I can do this.
Okay, so a couple things in here too that are just like gold and so neat to hear is one, I think that's the first time that word has come up as loving, which, I mean, that's awesome because I do think that there are choices out there that are gentle, and I do think there are other things that are calm, but the fact that you feel, you know, that comes across that it's loving. Like I really have battled my body, you know, I have that history of beating it up, thinking that's the route to go in order to be healthy and fit. And I think most of us on the mat are recovering perfectionists. It's what draws us to real work, you know, like, and so this idea of it being loving process, and that you can, you know, like Megan said, like, nope, I'm doing it because that's my coffee, and then my day does not start right if I don't do that. And the filling up your own cup. And I like teased about it being like a mama timeout, like time out, like somebody needs to take a breath before they have a tantrum, and it's me. Like, so, you know, and that it does become like, we as a culture, you know, have looked at fitness so much as this, like, what's it going to make my body look like? And that's a valid piece, right? But I have always been much more interested in, what's it going to make me feel like? Like, is this going to be another to-do on my grown-up list? Or is this going to be like the, you know, oh, thank God I'm doing this for 30 minutes. Like, those are completely different things. So I love hearing that come out, that it's loving, and that you know, can express it that way and feel it that way, because there's nothing more important to me, honestly, because I'll tell you, when I started teaching, it was by accident. I never would have chosen this job. I hated Pilates, by the way, which I think makes me a good teacher, because I understand the parts that are like, oh, that is stupid, I'm not doing that. But I started teaching, and coming from a performance background and being a female in the performance background, where everybody's telling you exactly what's wrong with you and how you're the wrong height, or your hair color is wrong, or all the things you cannot change about yourself. You're like, great. Oh, does anybody see what okay. So when I started teaching, I started to see, like, that when you say nice things to people, how they light up, and like when they're striving to change their body, and you focus on the small process and progress of it, that the big things come along faster. You know, it's like a plant. Like, if you're going to put it in a corner and never water it or yell at it, it ain't going to grow. But I started as a young teacher, and like, it felt really good to see people excited and lit up because they'd achieved something, but you said something nice to them. Do you know what I mean? Like, this idea that we're going to bark at people and teach them and know more than they are when you're dealing with their bodies. What? Yeah. I mean, and then we add motherhood, and Deanna, will probably come to you next, because I think that's a good segue in just a minute, of, you know, postnatal, because I think yours are the youngest out of this group, maybe, and maybe Becky's are, you know, that once you become a mother and having your children, and then this like shame of perfection of how your body's going to change, and then how people talk to you in classes or coaches is like, they have no idea. Like, don't talk to me that way. I have brought life onto this planet. And that the internal dialogue is so intense at that stage. So I love that you say that it's loving, because that's important and it's powerful. And then the mama timeout. I think we as mothers are learning as a culture that we need that timeout, and that, you know, hashtag self-care. Like, it's big and we can hashtag all the time, but what's the difference between self-indulgence or self-soothing versus self-care? You know, that caring for yourself and allowing yourself to have that breath and that moment and that step away that goes, no, I'm a person who needs something. I need it to be quiet. I need to move. I need somebody else to take care of me. Oh, and the extra bonus is I'm going to be a better mama when I walk into that room. You know, and that I think it's unbelievably powerful to model that behavior for our children, boys and girls. Like, this is my 30 minutes. I'm not asking for 2 hours. And I don't even need 2 hours, but I do need these 30 minutes, you know? And so I think those things are, you know, again, it's different things to different people, and it's powerful and it's beautiful to hear how that comes out for everybody. Yeah. Yeah, the mama timeout thing is funny, right? Because kids go, oh, I'm going to timeout. And we give them a timeout because they have hit their limit, right? Like, they're not thinking. It's all emotional. All those emotions are like timeout is not a punishment. It's a moment of pause. Like, you go breathe over there. And then when you've calmed down, then we'll come back. We need it too. We need it more than anybody, because a lot of times their meltdowns are because of our anxiety, you know, and our stress levels about it. So, Erin, I think those 2 bits alone are amazing.
Thank you. And I can tell you come from a very loving place too. That's the other thing that it just, shows your love of all of us and how you want to take care of us. So that is truly a gift too.
It is funny because that's come up a couple times in other ones of the, like, I just mother everybody. And I think it's so funny because motherhood took me by surprise, you know, like I wasn't the person planning for it. And then, but it's important. And I think that I took it, there's layers of why, and when the handbooks come out, you'll see why in the books. But you know, motherhood is serious business, and I think it's really hard to be a mom, but it can be unbelievably amazing. But my personal thing is the linchpin is the self-care. If you're not loving on yourself and taking care of you, like, look, we're end of the times of like martyring yourself. We're done with those. We're done. We learned from them. Like, let's get past it. We're deserving of 30 minutes a day, you know, if not more, but we can at least manage that because life is busy. So I'm grateful to hear that in reflection because it's ironic to me, but I own it now. But it was never intentioned. It was never intentional. So thank you. All right. Deanna, will you share with us, Mama?
Hi, sure. I'm Deanna, and I'm 38 years old. I have a 2.5-year-old girl and a 6-month-old boy, and I'm an actress, and which is why I'm so obsessed with this light in front of me right now. 'Cause, like, we have the energy saving bulbs in my house in LA, but like we're visiting my mother-in-law in Iowa, and I took off the lampshade of this like energy wasting bulb. I forget what they used to be. What are the original bulbs called? I forget what they're called. Anyway, it's just this beautiful light, and I'm blinding myself by looking at it. Sorry, I'm just obsessed. But it's my job, guys. It's my job. I'm not famous, but it does pay the bills, and I've been able to say that for almost 20 years now. So, so to go from like my 20s when I would eat 1,200 calories a day and do 2 hours of cardio every day. That's how I was able to get to a certain size, but obviously nobody can that. But that always worked for me. I would probably do that like 2 to 4 times a year for like a month to 2 months each time. And it's really taxing. It's not good for you. And but it felt like it was demanded of me for certain roles I got to play. And I've always kind of had this disconnect with that part of my job because I just I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky in a lot of ways. I come from good genes, but I feel like when people are paying attention to what kind of dress I'm wearing, that they're not listening to me, and it's fucking infuriating. It's been like something I've just been grappling with, and then and then I started, I have autoimmune issues myself, and what am I trying to say? And I got derailed because I'm so tired.
Okay.
What am I saying? I had autoimmune issues, but then also, like I was gonna say my body. I think because of that, when I am pushed to stressful situations, my body reacts in really interesting ways each time. And when I was at the worst of it, when I was like really abusing my body and working 80 to 90 hours a week, that I broke out in this crazy, nobody could diagnose it. I called it a stress rash because it was all over my hands and feet. And I saw, like, again, I had such little free time at the time, but I spent every hour of my free time trying to like figure out what this thing was. And they put me on prednisone, and that just made it worse. Just all these things happened, and it finally took decreasing my hours at work, and sleeping better, and just having more time off before it went away. And that's why I was like, I literally saw 12 doctors, different specialists about this, and nobody could determine it. And it pops up every once in a while. I wound up seeing like a hypnotherapist eventually, to help me manage it, because because then my body was just really, really sensitive to any time I would get stressed out, I would have a stressful thought and I would like a blister with like these like angry, they're like these angry blisters that would just pop up on my fingers. It's really attractive. And so I have to be careful with my adrenaline. But that's what's been cool for me about Matt and Kitchen. This is how it all ties together, I swear. It's that, you know, before I got pregnant with my first kid, I had already kind of cracked my food code. I'd figured out that like I need to be cool on the dairy, and like gluten and we just don't get along really well. So this was the first time, because I was a big advocate of like, don't ever cut out a food group. That's stupid, right? And then I started cutting out food groups and realizing that like, oh, your body just responds to different things, and feed it. If you listen to it, that's the whole thing, is that if you just listen to your body, it's telling you what it wants. And so my body doesn't want a bunch of abusive cardio and Nutrisystem prepackaged disgusting preservatives, right? So then when in between this was exactly like a year between my kids, I found Tandy through a Pilates. I was just Googling Pilates videos because that was my new thing. And at the time, you know, you have to change it up every so often, right? And I had tried Pilates before in the class, like in a class, like on a reformer, but I was also doing martial arts at the time. And so like, I didn't get it. Like it was not challenging. It didn't make a sweat. Like this can't be like, sure, you got that body doing Pilates. Like what else are you doing? You know what I mean? But when I found these videos online, it was nice. I didn't have to leave the house or whatever. But like the reason why Tandy stuck with me is because she was the first person that wasn't like reciting a script. And the way you described core contractions, like I have been doing core crunches wrong my entire life. And I've always been self-conscious of this pot belly. And again, my work kind of depends on like every nook and cranny. It's a blessing and it's really annoying at the same time. And so that's when I became hooked and I signed up, and then I got pregnant with my son. And so it was so cool. It's because I thought same thing. I was going to Megan, I was like, I'm out. Like, I'm not going to do this while I'm pregnant. And instead Tandy wrote back. He was like, cool. Here are all the things that you can do while you're pregnant here. I was like, oh, awesome. And I was able to like work on my core while I was pregnant. So I feel like I came out of it stronger. I came out of that pregnancy stronger than I did the first time. I'm still rebuilding. I'm trying to be gentle on myself. You know, it's bananas. I'll share this with you guys. I still weigh, you know, my son's 6 months now, but when I went in for that 6-week checkup with my doctor and I got weighed on the scale, I'm the same number that I am today as I am then. And I'm obviously like, my body's changing and I'm getting super strong and I know muscle. I know all those, I know all of that, but it still like bothers me because people at my work need to know how much I weigh. So it is like, it's just an annoying thing that I can't keep private. So I have to be aware of it. And I don't own a scale for that reason, because it can become an obsessive compulsive thing to do before I go to the bathroom, after I go to the bathroom, before I drink this water, after, you know what I mean? It's like, it's just not, I don't need to be any more neurotic than I am about life. But I think when I talk to other moms and other Facebook groups that aren't necessarily fitness based, they're all lamenting about how their skin looks or their body looks. And I don't care how this sounds. This is just how I feel. But I feel a responsibility as somebody that is portraying a woman on camera, that I need to think about what I'm projecting out in the world, because now I'm raising a daughter, and I don't want her to like, you know, I see my friends' kids posing for pictures on Instagram and they're popping their hands on their hips. And that just became a thing we all started doing in the last like 5-10 years, right? But when things have all became digital and we got to see like instant feedback of what we're looking like in pictures. And it bugs me to no end to see little girls, because you do it to hide the arm fat or whatever, or like make your arm look skinnier. And it's like 7-year-olds shouldn't know that. And I don't want my daughter to think like that. And so I have to thank Tandy for helping me rewrite my brain and the abusive stuff that I tell myself, because it's it's many decades worth that I have to fight against. So it's a conversation, and it's not a switch I can flip. But better is better. And that's why, the novelty of a new workout every 3 days is everything, because now I'm not going to get bored. You're absolutely right about the 30-minute limit, because if I do more than that, like, I pay for it. And I'm just not a good team member of this family when I can't show up and be present, because like I have to take 4 different naps and go to bed by 8 o'clock because I thought I could double up or something. Um, and I think that, I try to tell so instead of trying to be skinny or a certain size, I now know that this is a rediscovery of parts of my body that I didn't know could be as strong as they are. It's like finding, I just inherited this land next to my house that has been overrun. And I'm like, oh, that's actually in my control now to like take care of that land and own it. And that's how I feel about this discovery I make in my body. So now I make my daughter tell herself, when I can remember, I can't say that it's every day, but I make her tell herself that I am strong, I am beautiful. And also, one thing that you've influenced us, I never used the word booty before, but that's what I do to call her butt. So I'm like, gotta clean your booty. It's time to clean your booty. Like, we gotta change your diaper. So she says booty in her cute little voice. And so thank you for helping my daughter have a great vocabulary.
Well, I see so many beautiful pieces in there. So many beautiful pieces, because I think, that self-talk and then the scale. I mean, again, like, I took notes and we'd be here all night, but the scale is a huge one. Like, it's huge, and it is shocking to me how much of a thing it still is. Like, I feel like as a culture, we're still working in this like 1980s like formula, but it's going to be 2018. Like, it's antiquated, it is outdated, like, that program does not run anymore. Like, and we got to break it. And so, Deanna, I'm going to share just a little bit, because we had an email exchange too that I think was a transition, at least in my mind, right? Like, so I'll answer, I do answer everything. I have Sean, who's our accounts manager, who helps. He's also a trainer, and like, we've known each other for over 16 years now. So again, like, we speak the same language of how we can handle things, and he knows what my answers are for most things are, but I do answer them. And so there's some emails that are like little quick bits that I'm like, da-da-da-da. But then there's emails that come that I go, now I know that person. That changes, like, I know you now. Like, I know the whole thing now in a beautiful way that makes it, I can help better then, right? But the email about you going for your checkup and that number hadn't changed, and that in your doctor's office, they like were shaming you about it. Like, as mothers, that is the last thing we need to hear. I'm sorry, seriously? Like, I brought a new life onto this planet. Like, that number means nothing. Nothing. It's a reference point. And I get why we need to do it as a reference point, right? Because there's only some ways to explain things in so many words. But that, in the fitness industry too, became like, me launching the site was part of the noise of the industry that's still apparent. We're still looking at numbers and body numbers. And just like you said, like, you're like, there are years of programming, I'm working on it, and it takes time. We know that muscle is more dense than fat, and that we can transition and the numbers don't adjust very much. But this idea that it's still shaming, and that it still like sticks and it still stings, and this obsessive compulsive behavior of what that number says. Like, there was a session that I did years ago, I haven't done it in a while, about throwing out your scale. Like, this was a thing. Like, you take a picture of it and you get rid of it. Because one, the stress of that behavior generates, stress hormones, cortisol, that's going to like defeat the purpose of body transition now. And two, it's not the marker. And any good trainer will tell you, like, they don't look at the scale. They look at, you do body fat percentages, and that's completely different. So the body can literally weigh exactly the same thing in a before and after, but look completely blow your mind different. And so it's, you know, again, you've got these layers of being a female in the fitness industry, the techniques that we're using that are completely outdated and antiquated and don't mean a damn thing, on top of being a mother for the first time or the next time or the next time. And you're like, dude, this body is doing some important things. Like, that number is not my business right now. Like, my sanity, my milk production, my sleep, you know, like, that's my business right now. And we have to reclaim that. Like, and the fact that, like, we all go to doctors, and I'm not shaming it, because it's just the way the structure is. They've got 7 minutes to see you, but then they have all this judgment loaded into it. And it's like, that's the last thing I needed. That is not helpful. Like, and who are you? Because they're not going to carry you through to transition, right? Like, if there was a real health crisis because of that number, their judgment doesn't help create the difference. It's the plant again, you know, like, we all have to change our dialogue, right? Like, my goal is to help you guys change yours so that you help somebody else. It's like the usher in, you know, it's the pay it forward bit. Like, any bit of that dial that we can adjust as women and mothers, like, it's our job to do it then, because there's so much of it to adjust and turn the dial on that, like, that's the last thing you need. Like, I made it here on time and I am, like, completely recalibrate. I mean, I only had 2 come out of my body, and you change completely each time. It's a metamorphosis for you. So it's like, to start digging at the numbers is like the least of your concerns. Like, you need to check in with your heart and your head and, like, okay, now what? Because just because you've had a kid doesn't mean having the next one or the next one is anything like the same. And your body does the same thing. So I think, Deanna, you said too, it's like the things that you did before just doesn't feel good. And it's like, I'm just not going to do that anymore, because your body functionally, physically changes after you've had kiddos. So, you know, being on the mat speaks to all of that: the pelvic floor, the realignment of the SI joint, you know, the all of the upper back stuff that you get from just carrying them. Even if you don't breastfeed, it's like, just carrying them creates this tightness, and everything's down here for a while, right? Like, you got to check on them down here. So, you know, good upright posture is like out the door until they're like 13. So I think, yeah,
no,
it's a lot. Motherhood's a lot, and anything.
But also, to speak of the fact, yeah, it is a lot. I was just going to say that it's so important that you are reaching out to women, but specifically this mom's little nook, because this is where the revolution happens. If the mom, and not to put any more pressure on ourselves, but like, if the mom can be aligned, right? Like, the rest of us, like the rest of the family, like, that's why, like, taking time off for yourself, but also just like I don't know, I just feel like that's where, like, in our country, in the world, like, the revolution really happens with the mom, and it could be as simple as 30 minutes a day on a mat, or, you know, but it's symbolic is what I think that time for yourself is.
Absolutely. I'm trying to figure out a good term in wellness for it, you know, because it's like, in knitting, you have like craftivism, you know, like, it is, you know, it's like, what is it for wellness? Like, it's, you know, Audre Lorde, she was a poet, but it's that, you know, self-care is an act of political, like, warfare, because, you know, if you keep us in fear and keep us in a place of self-hatred, man, that's something you can control. You understand how this works and how you feel in this, you better watch out. Like, I literally, with my first son, I thought, I had that moment, like the moment of the understanding and clarity, where I went, there are this many parents in the world, this sleepless, driving cars. We lived in LA, and I was like, that's terrifying. You know, so it's like these tiny little bits of, like, we're ushered off back to, I mean, this is so many levels, but like, as mothers, if we go back to work, you know, we choose to, a lot of times we're not choosing to, we need to, or, you know, it's so fast, we're like shoved out the door. And so you're hormonally not calibrated, but you got to go function in the world. I ask any mother, you're in tears, even if you love your career and your job, because physically it hurts to be away from them. And so you've got so many layers. I mean, new mamas in particular need so much like support, because it's just like, you have no idea. And there's no way to explain it, except once they're on the other side. Then the sisters have to rush in and go, hang on, it's okay. You know, and I had kids before my peer group did. It wasn't planned. You know, the universe had very clear, you know, ideas about things. And I had hormone issues and autoimmune issues for a long time. So there were so many layers to how and why it happened. And it like really shook me, because I wasn't mentally prepared for it, because I wasn't trying. And that these transitions, you know, so then down the road, I feel like the old mom, you know, it's like my kid's 10 and 6, and theirs are still, you know, little boo-boos, and they're still in it, this fog. And so I think that anytime you can get a new mother on the mat in this capacity and show how to manage in these early stages, like nap time, you know, like the pockets where you can have your time back. Because I remember my mom, the only thing she really ever said was, she goes, you'll read someday. I remember that. She was like, it's not always going to be like this. But there was no other offering, like none. So I think it's just powerful, this, you know, transition of self-care. I mean, it's unbelievably important, because it is an act of political warfare to go, I still matter. I am still a person. And guess what? Their thrival is all about me. Just mother and child. That's it. They come out of your body. That's it. They're, you know, they're still attached. They still act different for us. They're, you know, we're the letdown. We're the safe spot. We're home base. They came out, you know, flesh of my flesh. Like, there's just, it's big and it's important, and we need to honor it. But we feel lost in it too, you know? So as a physical body, motherhood is a very physical thing. As much as it's emotional, it's unbelievably physical, the changes your body goes through. So reconnecting to it is like discovery, like you said, discovering an entirely new body every time. And I go, why didn't anybody ever say this?
Yeah.
Because it's beautiful, but it's tough, and it takes time, and it's a process, and like needs to be supported in the world. And one last thing, because I think it's important, and you said it, that this digital era of like, you know, instant gratification and instant imaging, not that it wasn't important before, but it's even more important now, of like value of how we look versus how we show up in the world, or who we are, and being heard versus being seen, and what's more powerful. And for me, Matt and Kitchen was really about the noise in the fitness industry as a female, because women are, because we're, you know, 89, somewhere between 89 and 98% of like information that we receive comes in visually. That's just, as a human, how we're set up. Most of our, you know, processing happens visually. So images are powerful, and women have been striving, this 1980s mindset, to look a certain way. We didn't know any better. We're trying to look healthy. Okay, so we're going to look that direction. Meanwhile, we've been looking at images for generations that have been airbrushed, that have been digitally modified, that you guys don't even know what trainers do to be photographed. You know, they've dehydrated themselves to the point of really.
Oh, yeah. Dehydration. I totally even forgot about that. Oh my God. Anytime I had a bikini day, it was just like, I couldn't, I'm sorry, you just triggered something. I totally forgot about the dehydration. But yeah, that's how you get your abs. It's
right.
Like, not you, but yeah.
Go from like
you have your abs.
the performance industry, you know, to like, you learn all these secrets behind the scenes, and then it really messes with your head. And so here I am in the fitness industry trying to teach wellness to people who are looking at images that don't even exist. That it's like, between that and the scale, that is a losing battle. So it's like, when you can try to knock it down and go, how do you feel? What's the goal? Do you really want to look like that? Maybe not. What do you want to be able to do? How about we start there? You know, and readjusting the goal setting just from a practicality standpoint, from this like aspirational, because everybody says I should be aiming at that, so I am. You know, so it's powerful, because we get it. Everybody in this room and everybody on the mat who's female gets it. That dialogue is deep, but you can rewrite it. And it's unbelievably important for, I mean, I have all boys, you know, to me, I feel like a little bit extra weight of the world, not, you know, because it's like, damn, if my children are going to walk into the world entitled and treating women a certain way, like, no way. So it gets to be these, you know, unbelievable layers of making things matter and making them real again, if we can find a nutshell for it, instead of confusing and loud and noisy and getting anchored in here and coming from this place out, you know, from the inside out, rather. And I get it, it's hard, but it's not impossible. And I think everybody who's on the mat knows that. They go, it does, but y'all don't even know that those changes happen until they've happened. You know, it's kind of like this undercurrent of like, oh, I think about things differently now, because it usually happens when your friends will say something and you're like, that's so crazy. Why would you do it? Why are you drinking that? You know? So big, powerful, important things. And we'll just do a whole separate one on all of those things because it matters. So thank you for sharing. All right, Becky, will you round out and share with us tonight?
Sure. I am Becky, and I'm from Harrisonburg, Virginia. Lived all over the country, and so I'm pretty busy and know different parts of the world. But I come here with about 3.5 years on the map. Can't believe it's been that long, but it has. I also come with 3 little ones. One is almost 9, and then a 3.5-year-old and a 14-month-old. All girls. So this whole busy mama female environment is hitting very close to home. And I feel very lucky to have this community of people to lean on, not just for the M&K lifestyle, but, you know, other things that come up, because it does. M&K ends up usually rolling into something else. You know, is it good to give my child this? Should I give them this? Type thing. That's actually that's one of the things. I actually made a list this time. I did a call a couple days ago, and I rambled quite a bit. So this time I made my list. Trying to stick to point here. So yeah, the kids thing, like I was saying, M&K has solved for me, or at least helped me to kind of be more aware of what I'm putting into my family, whether it's food, medication, how, you know, when we exercise, how we exercise, you know, whether we do it alone or whether we do it as a family, or how we even talk to them about it is huge. You know, there are times it's like, how do you tell a child that, no, you can't have this candy bar because it makes you go absolutely crazy, versus how about this option as a snack? So that's been one thing lately too that I've been trying to really hone in with my almost 9-year-old, to try to make her be aware of, how is this food going to make you feel, or how does it make you feel after you've eaten it, versus how does this food make you feel. So she's kind of becoming more aware of that, and recognizing that when I call her out on, you know, after she's had candy or something and now she's miserable.
Right.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't have eaten that, Mom. So M&K also just gives me that flexibility to press play whenever I want, you know, and the pressing of play is just so easy. That rolls into another aspect of what it solves for me, is I don't have to think about my workout. I don't have to think about what I'm going to do that day. I don't have to come up with, okay, I've got to do this many reps of this, or I've got to do this and this. I don't have to think about it. I can turn my phone on, roll my mat out, and just press play, and it gives me everything that I need for the day. Along with that flexibility is, you know, I usually have a set time kind of when I do it. I hear a lot of you say, oh, I get up early in the morning and do it before everybody else is awake. And me, I'm not a morning person. Just can't do it.
I'll just
but the funny thing is I have emailed Tandy about some other things, and there is like these 4 kind of stretch exercises that I do before I roll out of bed. If I get out of bed before doing these, it's almost a guarantee something is either going to start to twinge if I don't do them. So I do kind of have a routine before I get out of bed. I just don't get up at 4:30 in the morning. Sorry, Megan, I can't do it. So my routine's kind of in the middle of my day, because then it helps me get through the rest of my day. It gives me that energy to get through the rest of my day with my 3 littles. And so the flexibility is key for me. It also allows me to model healthy behavior for my kids and my family. You know, it gives me those tools, like I was saying, with what I put in my children. I now talk to my kids and my husband, obviously, about, you know, what is in this food that we're eating? You know, why does it taste this way? Or why is it this color? Or, you know, why is it so sweet versus so salty type things? Stuff I kind of, you know, it's stuff that you know and you learn growing up, but Tandy has a very unique way of explaining it and helping you explain it to your family, or to anyone for that matter. So the next day, let's see, what do I got here? My kids actually like doing the workout with me. My 3.5-year-old will come and go get her own mat and roll it right out, or she'll get right on top of me and do it with me, or she'll sit on the other half of my mat and try to do the same thing, and she'll sit right there in front of it and look right at it. And for me, because really, another thing is it's helped. I actually come from chronic injury too, back pain and stuff. So it's actually, being a mom, it's helped me to be able to recover from an episode a lot quicker. I now have the tools to recover myself versus having to go to someone, or I still have to do chiropractic care and massage and all of that, but I've figured out kind of a combination of what has to happen if something happens. So it's allowed me to recover quicker to get back to being able to take care of my family, which is huge, because, you know, we've made a choice as a family for me to stay home. I'm a stay-at-home mom. And so my husband has to do, you know, is the breadwinner, so to speak. And so he's working a lot and is not necessarily home as often as we'd like. So I have to be able to be that caretaker, and both physically and mentally.
I want to, so I don't forget that one, because this, I think it's interesting that, again, like these conversations go different places and different things come up, and I'm like, there's a couple things I'm like, I expected to hear that like in all of them, but it's so sneaky that it doesn't register initially. I think that being a parent in general, mother or father, but if you are the caregiver, primary caregiver, man, you better like bolster your system to marathon every day. Like, I think that's just like the functionality piece of it, that we know that, you guys all know that, but being capable of being adult on call responsible for all the decisions and the meals and the doing and the sickness and the, that when a parent goes down and when the mama goes down, you're like, this ship is going down. So like, it is done. That you've got to be able to minimize that or know how to manage it to get back up and running. And I think that's just huge. And that's a giant one that I honestly anticipated hearing earlier in this evening. But, like that's huge because you need to be, again, capable of the day, especially when you don't have a partner home as much as you'd like them to be. And I think that's like we've taken turns in our house of who's home with the kids, and we've both been working or both been gone. We've unschooled and we've done it all together. When somebody's around more often, man, it's a lot nicer. And so when there's not, you better be on it. Like you better have a game face, happy, like you better be taken care of to go, because there's no stopping. And I think people sometimes think that, I'm still like this week, I took him to school every morning this week because we made an agreement about the schedule. Man, like I'm not a morning person, so I don't, and I have autoimmune issues. So sleep is like really precious. So I do choose sleep over getting up earlier to have my time because it's off and running. So the other piece that I wrote down, Becky, that you had said is that, again, I do like, we have a really mixed group of like people who are really diligent about what time it happens or happening in the beginning of the day. I'm not that person either. I like the 2:00 break because I get on the mat and then go pick them up at school and then feel like I've got a little wind in my sails for the rest of the evening. So in my life, because I was always teaching and training at the key times with clients in a gym, in a studio, I could never go take class because my free time was between 2 and 3. There wasn't a class at 2 and 3. So I think this is another piece of like efficiency and accessibility that like a mom schedule, especially if you're doing pickup and drop off, is like, you got a window. And so like other things have to get done too. And again, I think, how does anybody ever do this really? Like, because it's that layered with, okay, yeah, there's lots of other fitness choices online. We've all got a smartphone, or, we can all do this now. Great. You still have to go pick it. So this is my other thing. And I used to put my sassy bossy pants on about this. Like, y'all should not be picking your own workouts, because it's like doing your own legal work. You don't have the education for it. Like, and we've all been, I'm sorry, but you don't. So it's like, I have spent 20 years thinking and reading and doing and teaching and experimenting and trying and learning. And so people just think it's like ordering a cup of coffee. Like, I can just pick whatever I want because it's one size fits all. And it's so not. One, it's stressful. Because it was somebody else that said, like, okay, if I took the time, yeah, then you're like, and by the time I found what I wanted, I didn't have time to work out. So it goes into this, like, efficient, okay, so everybody can hop online. I got it. Yes, you can. And you can pick whatever you want, and it's your right to choose it. Yeah, but that does not bring results because there is a rhyme and a reason. There is body balance. And I do act as your personal trainer, and I do macro and microcycle all the workouts in perpetuity, which is why it works, because they're only 30 minutes when you guys just stay in the flow of it. But this is behind the fitness curtain. Like, again, it's like keeping people stupid so that they can just keep buying shit, like, no, like when you hire Brian's does, keeps you poking. That's stressful, and that's like cortisol, waste your time. And so I just kind of go, yeah, you hit on some key ones there too, because you shouldn't be picking your own stuff. People pick what they like, okay? That's good, but that's usually what you're good at and what you can already do. So you end up creating muscular imbalance in your body, which leads to injury and not getting results. So it's like when you guys show up, and I love hearing it because that makes me so happy that you guys love not having to choose, feeling and knowing that somebody else is taking care of you, because I promise I'm thinking about you guys, that it's like, oh, well, that's what it feels like to be supported and somebody else doing their job. That's my job. Let me do my job. You guys just show up. And so this like layering of schedules and on top of picking, I mean, man, that's stressful. That stresses me out. Like, Let me go scan the interwebs and choose my workout and then have no time to do it. So I think it's really great because it shows the differences of lifestyles and personalities. This idea that we're all supposed to get up at 5:30 to do it ain't not happening. It is not happening. Not happening. So it's not. My husband's up at 4:30 and loves it and does his M&K at 4:30 in the morning. You know, that we honor that we're different, and that's good. And people ask me all the time, like, what's the best time to work out? When are you going to do it? Like, that's the best time. Like, if you're going to oversleep and feel guilty first shot out of the gate, it's not the time to do it. If you've got this little stash of time, I know a lot of moms who make dinner and then will, like, while things are cooking or sitting, they'll go run, do their mat. You know, like, kids are still doing homework. They're kind of, yeah, see, somebody's brain went, oh, I haven't tried that one. You know, and I've definitely rolled my mat out, like, while homework's going on so I could still navigate it from the floor while they're at the kitchen table. So it's like, and as a mother, as the ages and stages change, your schedule changes. So when you get in a groove of something that you like, that you can get to, that you can afford, that you're like, I know where to park, I know what time I have to leave, it's going to change next year. And then you're like, wait a minute, what am I going to do? So I know that Megan has, like, you know, taken her phone and rolled out her mat, like, in the like during wrestling matches, you know, like, I'm out here. I know another member who's like, they had a play date. She's like, I did it in the driveway. I still had a Wi-Fi connection. I could see my kids. It was totally fine. You know,
I do it on the back porch.
Yeah.
I take the kids outside and I'm like, okay, guys, just go play. I need to get this.
Yeah, so the creativity and the accessibility and the permission of it, like, it doesn't have to be, and I'm picking on Megan because she's so, like, a gorgeously clockwork. Like, I wish I was like that. But it doesn't have to be that way. Like, these ideas of the way it has to look or the way fitness and wellness has to happen, like, it can be as long as it works in your life and in your day. Now you have the choice to do it anytime you want to. Anytime. You know, and it feels personal and private. And I think that's the other thing that didn't come up, that as women, you go to a gym or a class and everybody's looking at you. You know, like, I don't need to be in a fishbowl.
Oh, wait, I said that in the first interview.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. I said the fishbowl.
Okay. Yeah.
So if everyone wants to see it, go back to that first one.
Well, it's just true. It's such a beautiful reflection of how individual and unique yet universal it is, because you all are all very different mothers, right? At different stages in different places. And, you know, for those with the younger ones, it's like seeing what's coming, you know? And I do feel like Milo turned 10 and Sam turned 6, and it was like, it's a whole new world. Like, it's easier. You know, like the day-to-day, the littles are, I mean, Deanna, it's hard physically. It's just physically hard. And so you're like, is it ever going to change? Yeah, but you have to live your life in the meantime. So, Becky, with that, I'm going to close it out for tonight because I feel like we hit on so many beautiful things. And that was just an excellent share and highlight of the way it speaks to mothers on the mat. And again, like, thank you all so much for being here and for being a mother in the world. God bless you. To take it on and to embrace it and to honor it and to strive for it and with it. We still have a place in the world. We have a big place in the world, you know, and we need to take up more of that space. And I genuinely believe that every transition that happens on the mat is powerful and amplifies off the mat. I believe that it makes you show up better in the world. I really do. And that because it's about connecting and awareness and going, what does it feel like? Does that feel good? You know, what does balance look like? What is doing a workout I didn't pick feel like? Trusting someone, being a student, you know, allowing yourself to being taken care of and being led. These are powerful things. You guys are leading your homes every day, and that's exhausting. Sometimes you need somebody to go, just please make the decision for me and trust it. Because most of us are like, I ain't letting anybody make a decision because I do not trust them. But there's a lot of trust in this space. And so I recognize that, and I'm grateful for it. And I'm proud of you all every time you're on the mat. I really am. Because it's not just about your workout at all, especially as mothers. So thank you all so very much for being here. And if anyone who's watching this and who's watched the whole thing is interested in becoming a member at matandkitchen.com, like, there is always a place for you on the mat, and there is a very special place for mothers on the mat. And if you have any questions, further, you can come find us in the private groups and talk to all of these women again, or just sending an email or sending a note. Like, they all get answered. They're all honored. And I hope that this was helpful and supportive to you as a mother in the world.